Hi, I'm Jaye Ward and we're outside all my friends' bar and record shop. People that go to record shops are quite boring, right? And are quite, they've got their... No, they are. They've got, they know what they want, or they're looking for a certain thing, or they want to yabber to the guy that's working behind the counter. Now, record shops sell paraphernalia, like we sell deck weights and needles. But used to get things like shops that had a smart drug bar, right? So loads of people drinking really expensive drinks that didn't do anything for them. There was loads of people really trying to maximise their takings. So you would find things like drum and bass PA on a Tuesday afternoon. When everyone else is trying to chill, there's this it's going off. Zoom Records, which was a label, and loads of famous people used to work there. It was in Camden, and they had a full light show, like you'd have in a club, a rig, and sirens. And every day at a certain time, they would turn the lights off and put the lights on and play the sirens while you're trying to find records. That was fun, stroke annoying at the same time, but that was good, yeah. There used to be a brilliant shop in Oxford Street called MASH. When Acid House happened, like when rave was going on, it was this big clothes shop that sold, hoodies and kickers and all the old rave, and it had a record shop, and that would go off every single day of the week. It would be people in there dancing, just like the Human Traffic video, exactly like that.
Who used to play there?
Big rave crews. These are people that are lost to the, the space of time or whatever now. Fabio, Groove Rider, DJ Rap, all the big sort of rave. Before jungle and drum bass happened, hardcore era, them sort of people, and it would kick off. It would be like a party every day. The record shops I worked in were less like that, and more kind of chin strokey, being quiet. Yeah, talking about catalogue. I used to work for Zaf in Reckless, and that was just pure jazz funk, rare groove people coming in talking about catalogue numbers and the difference between mint and very good. Those kind of conversations, less
Discog chat.
Real life Discogs chat, yeah. I've got rid of a lot of records that I wish I hadn't got rid of. I just got rid of all, not just, before Christmas I got rid of all my Drexcyia and Underground Resistance records, and I put them in a charity shop.
Because you have a couple of spares?
There was spares and I had digitals of, but it was a lot. It was like Red Planets, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11 Drexcyia records, loads of Underground Resistance, Happy, their house label, and I put them all into because I just couldn't be arsed. I put them in the charity shop, and then I went, oh! And I went back there and they're all gone. And the logic, my brain went, oh, shit. But yeah, I've got rid of a lot of records that I now think I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But that's...
Well, at least they're out there.
They're out there, yeah. And if someone is picking up a Drexcyia record for 50p, God, good luck to them.
They're straight on Discog, probably.
Straight on Discog, with a little note underneath saying...
Got in the charity shop.
Yeah, got in this charity shop that Jade...
How would you go about tackling the wall?
I'll go through the whole thing.
So do you reckon you need quite a few long hours?
Yeah, what I'm noticing is now that I know how the flow works of the shot, I don't need to go through all of it, but I always go through the first sort of Parallel Universe. That's a great record. All right. Look, big Italian house records, £3, that's a bargain. That's just straight away. There's always interesting things here, always. I'm a big fan of that kind of repurposing music into, into a different type of set. And those records were, you couldn't give them away. Say you were in Bournemouth, which is quite big on Balearic and down tempo, and also big sort of handbag housey sort of stuff. I bet you could go to a record shop and find records that were expensive elsewhere for a quid, £3, you know. That attitude to digging will serve you well even in 2025, you know. I remember the Sot Effect records when they were because he puts out quite a lot. I remember for a while, you know, they were like £15, £20 records, but I'd see them sometimes in bargain bins.
It's just people didn't like them.
Because the buyer don't like them, yeah. So I think that idea of digging is still will hold you in good stead. What is it, you know, how long does it take to go through this? Maybe half an hour, really, pulling out things you think, you know. I mean, I'd try and listen to all of it if I had a day.
Yeah.
I think it. But some record shops won't let you listen to this stuff.
You just have to buy it.
You have to buy it, and I think sometimes it's worth doing. You've got to there's got to be a bit of pain somewhere, surely. You know. I remember when we didn't have the internet, and you relied on bits of paper, written on the back of a fag packet. That was how you found out about things, or you had to ask, which it's quite daunting to ask a DJ at the end of the set, at the end of the night when you're a bit spannered, what the fourth record they played was, But when the internet happened, for me, it was just such a massive paradigm shift. People, you could find sets written down from, Larry Levan at the last night at the Paradise Garage. Every single record he played was on the internet. You could find that out.
There's pros and cons.
There's pros and cons. I think I quite like the digging that's happening online, where someone posts a little bit of video of a set of someone, and then there's 1,000 people IDing it, and no one's got it. I think that's pretty amazing. That's a real. I think that collectors and diggers and people that like music were always in competition with each other.
Yeah.
But
do you give out your IDs?
Yeah, I make track listings on my radio shows, and if anyone asks, always.
Have you looked less?
No, I mean, on CDJs, you always see all of a sudden you're playing and you'll see someone has slipped behind you with a camera and is taking a photo of the ID on the CDJ.
Back in the day, did you have to just basically look at the record?
Yeah, people used to do cover-ups. The plain white sticker on a white label. They'd have a load of those, and they'd slip that over the record, so you couldn't ID it.
Now some people use weights.
Yeah, now record rates. Oh my God, yeah.
Is that a plug for the weights, Abby?
Yeah, not little one. There, so that's no good.
No.
But that's perfect. Yeah. That's the game, though, isn't it? The enjoyment of digging, or the enjoyment and the next bit, playing it to people and hoping that they'll like it too. That's the enjoyment that we get. That's the initial buzz, I suppose. The dancing, playing the generic bangers, looking pretty for the crowd game is not necessarily the same game that we play. No one pays to look at me. They don't. I do dance when I play records, but not necessarily when there's a camera around. Yeah.